Hey,
Hi, Henry. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. How is the audio for you?
Oh, it's great. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, no problems at all.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for doing this. I like your background.
Oh, thank you. I just recently got. I figured it'd be better than sort of a blank white wall. So,
It's very
oh,
cool.
thank you. I like yours too.
Oh, thank you. There's a lot of stuff back here. Let me know if you need me to like blur it. I don't know about, yeah, if you're using anything.
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
You're good.
Okay.
Well, how's life for you, first of all,
Yeah,
these days?
life is good. It's very nice that you reached out to me. Thank you. It means
Of
a
course,
lot. So,
of course.
I'm excited to talk to you. But yeah, it's starting to feel a little bit like summer here in the Bay Area, which takes a while usually. So yeah, so it's a treat. How are you doing? And where are you? You're in Mountain Time, so that's
We are in New Mexico.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah. So, hopefully moving out to California in the next couple of years, but yeah, here for now.
That's exciting. Where in New Mexico?
Albuquerque.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I've been to Albuquerque once. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's got some spots for sure. But well, how was it that you got started in your career? Was editing always the goal?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so the crazy thing about my story is I was a chemistry major for 3 years in college. So I was a big math and science kid growing up. And then I did a couple summer programs when I was a kid. One at I grew up in Indiana, so I went to a 2 week summer camp at IU, where I got to play in radio and TV. So that was kind of my first taste of anything entertainment related. And then I did a 5 week program at Northwestern University called Cherubs. It was radio, TV, film. And so you got to dabble in each one of those for a few weeks. And I really, really liked it. Like, loved being behind the scenes. But I'd never thought of it as a job. And I was a big math and science kid. So I went to Dartmouth in New Hampshire and was taking film classes as like a minor. And I really loved them. But it was more of like a history and theory kind of based course. And but still loved them. And but I kept doing these chemistry internships and could not find a path that I loved. Like I could not find a career I was excited about in chemistry. Meanwhile, like all my film classes, everyone I took got me more and more excited about it. So I remember reaching out to my parents about midway through my junior year and saying, "Hey, I'd really like to switch my major and minor and figure out how to make this film thing work." And surprisingly, they were very supportive. I think they just could tell how unhappy I'd been in chemistry, like that I wasn't finding the route I was hoping for. And so I didn't know anyone in entertainment and film and animation and TV. Animation hadn't even occurred to me because I can't draw worth a darn. And I knew I needed to find an internship before I graduated. So I did a lot of cold calling and found an internship out in LA for a small company called Chanticleer Films. And they had had this cool program where they had a ton of interns every summer because they would give actors their first chance to direct a short. And so that's what was in my career center. But when I called them, they're like, "Oh yeah, we're not doing that anymore." And I was like, "Okay, never mind." Because I had applied to big internships like Pixar's, like Universal's, and didn't hear back. But they were like, "We do have a low budget sci-fi movie going this summer. Like, do you want to come out and be an intern?" I was like, "Sure." And they let me pick what departments I wanted to work in. So at that point, I was really interested in camera and editorial. And so I did a few weeks in pre-production in the office. Then when it was shooting, I got to be on set in the camera department. And then after the shoot, there were like 3 weeks left of the summer, and I got to be an editorial. And I think I realized really quickly then that edit was the department for me. Like
Mm.
I loved the teamwork. I loved the pace. On set is very cool, but like those long days, and it's kind of like, hurry up, do your job. Okay, now sit and wait. Hurry up, do your job. Now sit and wait. And I like love the kind of building towards a screening of editorial and the teamwork involved. So yeah, basically after that internship, I knew editorial was where I wanted to be.
Was were movies that oh sorry, it's just my
Okay.
wife.
Oh,
Were
hi.
um were movies beforehand, like before you got started and all that, something that you were sort of paying attention to? Like, did you grow up? I mean, I guess a lot of people grow up watching anime movies, but was that something at all on your radar before that?
I think that growing up, movies and TV were just a big part of my childhood. I think growing up in the Midwest, like definitely going to the movies was like a big family event. I'm pretty sure The Great Muppet Caper was one of the first movies I got to see in a theater, and like the Muppets were
Mm.
everything to me as a kid. I also remember like musicals. Like I remember we got the VHS of like Grease and Annie, and I would watch those and over and again. Sorry, I'm dating myself with the VHS, but so I always loved movies. I think just not having any connections to the industry, it still didn't occur to me that like I could work at it. And certainly animation. I loved like Saturday morning cartoons, afternoon cartoons, and I also really remember that my dad, whenever we were watching Looney Tunes, like especially Coyote and Roadrunner, my dad would come and watch with us because he would always talk about in college they would play like a Warner Brothers short before whatever feature they were showing in college. And so he loved Looney Tunes. I think that was kind of my first instinct that animation isn't just for kids, it can be for all ages. And like with the right humor, the right characters, it really can be for everyone. And so I definitely have carried that with me as I found animation later in life as a career.
Yeah. With so now with Inside Out 2, which I loved the film and I've seen it multiple times, and I mean even the first one as well I loved, but I was so excited that they were doing a second one, and just yeah, it was such a both of those movies are can be so really emotional, obviously, you know, you'd want them to be, but what is the process? Because I've never really spoken to anyone about what's the process of editing an animated movie? Like, what's kind of day one? And like, are you seeing just a lot of very, very basic animation? Or are you seeing, you know, if you could just talk through the process, because I really have no idea.
Yeah, I'm happy to explain it. A lot of my friends who work in live action are just understanding,
Mm,
from me how it works. So, just so you know, like I was on Inside Out 2 for 3 years.
mm,
So, and we basically in editorial, we start the day a script is ready, until I was on until the release date. So when the script is ready to go to storyboards, that's like the first phase in animation. So not even close to being animated. It's literally hand drawings. They used to literally be on paper and they would be shot, and then like each JPEG would come in as a storyboard. Now they're digitally drawn, but we still get each individual file. So for that first year and a half, that's actually our most iterative time in editorial. So like we're live action, they shoot and then they have the pile of footage that they edit. Animation is almost the reverse, where we're doing the most editing before anything is shot, before anything is animated, because animation is so time consuming and therefore expensive. We want to like nail it down as much as we can. So for that first year and a half, editorial works really closely with the storyboard department. Things like the script will get broken up scene by scene, and an artist will take a scene. It could be anywhere from like a 1 minute to an 8 minute scene, and we could get anywhere from like 200 storyboards to 1,000 storyboards for that one
mm,
little chunk. And then we record audio around like with people around the office. So we call it reference dialogue before we get our professional actors. And we have every place I've worked been very lucky that we have these like really hidden talent people that can, obviously not to the extent that our professional actors can, but do a really good job of conveying the emotion, the humor, bringing the characters to life. So, with animation, nothing comes together. So it's not like you get picture with sound. Like so we're hand timing every storyboard. They just come in at the same length, 16 frames, which is a little less than a second, and we're hand timing each one of those panels with then making choices of each line of dialogue. And you're rarely recording actors together, even our reference actors. So it really is like trying to create a rhythm between two characters where they've just been recording their lines one by one. At the same time, we have a huge sound effects library, so we need to bring the world to life, even though it's just black and white drawings. So we've got backgrounds, hits, slams, punches, all of that. And then we use temp music from other movies to fill out the scenes. So we're working on it scene by scene. About every 4 to 5 months, we put up the whole movie in that storyboard state. We watch it internally, usually with the director, the crew, and then here at Pixar, we have a brain trust. So they're kind of executive level people or trusted directors, trusted collaborators that also give input after the screenings of like what scenes are working, what needs to be rewritten. This is the stage where the movie can blow up a lot. Inside Out 2 was actually a complete rewrite for the first 4 screenings. So, which was like the most I've ever had a complete rewrite done. So that meant that like even though we recorded thousands of lines of dialogue for the first one, we have to record thousands of lines of dialogue with the second one. And that's not even our finished dialogue. It's all going to get replaced by the final actors. So anyway, That's like the first year and a half. Once you start getting scenes that are feeling like they're working, they start entering the production pipeline. So the first stage is called ref layout, which is also like our cinematography department. So that's where the first time we're taking these storyboards and putting them in the three-dimensional sets. It also means we're recutting the entire movie again because we're getting these digital shots. And it's cool here at Pixar, we get a lot of extra footage. So like they do coverage almost like live action. And obviously, being able to move the camera, you get a lot. There's just a lot of different options you may not have considered in storyboards because it's really complicated to draw like a moving camera in storyboards, but digitally they can really put it in the set and move it around. So, so that's like the first stage. And then after that's done, we also need to have all our final dialogue in before animation will start. So while this is all going on, we're recording our actors and they're doing amazing, hilarious things that we hadn't written in the script, and we're getting that stuff in and making sure it all works together. And then animation starts. So once it's in animation, in editorial, we should be just doing very minor tweaks. Like animation may open shots up because they want to add a bit of funny with the character, or they really feel like, to have the character move the way we need them to across the scene, we need more frames. And so it's kind of more of that kind of tweaking back and forth. But because we send stuff, like we only send a few sequences at a time, even when things are finished in animation, there are some scenes that may just be starting to get there. So that's why we're involved so long. Sorry, that's a very long answer.
No, 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 that's fine. And so then with you talking about the different groups who oversee it, so is your typical day usually working with a big group then, as opposed to
Hmm.
maybe a live action editor who might just be sitting in a room by themselves with like a director or an assistant editor? What's your team look like mostly?
Yeah, so my edit team, we have a pretty big team. So just my edit team alone is me, two additional editors, a first assistant editor, and then two to three additional assistant editors. And the assistant editors are mostly organizational, as you can imagine, when you're talking about thousands of storyboards, thousands of recorded lines, plus all these other departments that then give us updated shots on a regular basis. It's a lot to keep organized that we can also find on a moment's notice. So, like, all the dialogue gets transcribed. We have a huge database. Like, I could find a line Amy Poehler recorded 3 years ago in like 5 seconds, thanks to the
Hmm.
amazing work of my assistant editors. And all of that keeps us running. And then my additional editors, often we're getting deliveries of, 8 sequences at once. So we split up that work. It all comes back to me. I'm putting it together. I like to show the director in chunks. So, like, as many sequences as we can string together at a time so that we're really looking at things contextually instead of just like little 2-minute pieces. Because it's easy to then get buried in the details of those 2 minutes and then realize, oh, actually, the scene isn't really working in the larger context. So when we're in reviews in my office, it'll be me, the director, our head of story. They're the other key creative collaborator. Like me, the director, the head of story work really, really tightly, especially those first 2 years. Making sure the film is working, figuring out how to make the story better. And then we also have like a coordinator in there taking notes. The script supervisor will probably be in there noting any line changes or anything that needs to go back to a writer. And then as we start working through departments, the heads of those departments will be in there. So yeah, it's very rarely a day where it's just me and a director sitting in a room. Every
Hmm.
once in a while, I'll get like a Saturday or a late night where we just want to like get in there and play with stuff. But it's usually like it's a great collaboration through animation, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah. So then when the film is sort of done animation wise, are you still in the process? Like, are you still kind of there seeing things develop?
Absolutely. And there are certainly through all the animation dailies, and then it goes to lighting, and we're kind of tracking things through lighting just to make sure, we were expecting an explosion that was going to be this big, and we allowed that much time for it. But, it turned out, we didn't need that many frames, or we need more frames. And so there's still adjustments throughout. And then I'm involved through the whole post process. So I was at Skywalker Ranch for 6 weeks for Skywalker Sound. They were doing our final mix with Ren Kleiss and his amazing team. And I was there every day versus the director maybe coming a couple days a week. And I'm kind of helping the team because I know every note that's been given over those 3 years, every kind of sound adjustment we've made, every reason why we chose a certain even temp sound effect that, hopefully I can help guide the sound designer, sound mixers to get our balance and everything closer. So when the director comes in, it, just minimizes notes. But obviously want to give them plenty of room to play and explore because that's what they're experts at.
Were there any particularly challenging sequences or moments? I know you're talking about how they were having to do rewrites and things like that, but once you kind of had things solidified, were there any things, any standout scenes that were like, man, that was very challenging to get right, or maybe the placement of it, anything stands out to you?
It's hard. I feel like I have a story about pretty much every scene
Hmm.
in the movie. Like there's something that was really unique about it. And as you mentioned, the first one, like so elegant. Like Kevin Nolting, Pete Docter, like, what they created, it was just beautifully intertwined. And so as a touch point for myself after every screening, I would rewatch the first one just to kind of remember like there's so many things you can visually cheat that like because you've set up this world of memory and the inside and the outside that you don't have to have all the like shoe leather in between beats. You can just create emotional moments that the audience puts together what the memory is. And so I just wanted to keep that in mind as we were kind of working through the process. Like what we learned with this one was that because Riley's new emotions are much more social based, and that's like, we worked with psychiatrists, like experts in their field, to make this movie very true and very real to emotions and the teenage experience. And the thing we learned is like in the teenage years, a child's view of themselves is much more about the world around them and how they think they're seen by the world around them, versus when you're a little kid, your worldview is just you and how you see the world, and you're not really thinking about anything else. And so we learned that like because these are kind of relational emotions, we needed to spend a little more time with Riley than we did in the first one. And so kind of finding that balance and rebalancing the three different storylines of Riley, anxiety, and joy in the group out in the mind world was like a constant, every screening kind of working that balance and figuring out when they need to come together, when they could be apart. I think the scenes that work best in the movie are the ones where you're getting all three storylines in one scene, like the projection scene where Riley's actually sleeping and we only cut to her a few times or trying to sleep. But you're with anxiety as like the big brother in this like room full of monitors. And then Joy comes in and kind of upends the work she's trying to do. And I think that was actually one of the first scenes that we all were like, oh, this is right. Like, this is exactly what the movie needs to be. And it's working so well. And you're enjoying time with all these characters at once and getting how they're affecting Riley. I think the other big thing was at the end, I'll be honest, the last like 15 minutes of the movie didn't come together until January of like it was released in June and we didn't find those scenes and storyboards until January, which is
Hmm.
it sounds like a long time, but it's
It's
really not
no.
needing to go
Hmm.
through animation. So it was really hard to find that emotional climax that really served Joy's story, Joy's arc, making sure that we got anxiety, that anxiety wasn't malintentioned, and the relationship with Riley. And we did have a screening where Riley's panic attack just went on way too long. Like everyone was like, "Oh my God, I don't want to be in an anxiety attack for that long as an audience member." And so it was just again, it was just like constantly rejiggering those pieces to find the right balance so that you could have the emotional catharsis you wanted, but still enjoy the journey.
Was anxiety always a character from the start, or did that develop over time?
She was always a character, but she changed dramatically.
Hmm.
So the very first screening we had, we actually had 8 new emotions come in. And anxiety actually came in disguise and pretended to be like a helpful adolescent assistant. And it was only revealed halfway through that she was like, had an evil plan and was like lurking in the background as anxiety. Then for a while, shame was actually our big villain, and anxiety was kind of like her assistant or her like starting place. Um, and then, we realized shame was just, it's a really heavy thing to deal with in an 80-minute movie for all audiences. And to tell it correctly, like emotionally, psychologically correctly, it just it was going to be hard to make it a touchstone for everyone. Whereas anxiety, we were all very in touch with. Um, and so I think it was about a year in that we finally settled on anxiety was going to be kind of the leader of this new emotion pack. And we got it down to anxiety, embarrassment, envy, and ennui as our four. And it was also like when you have nine new emotions come in, you're talking about uh 14 characters to keep
Yeah.
busy along with the whole outside world. It was it's just like it was too many people to keep busy. So I was once we found those four, it really a lot more things started clicking into place in terms of what Riley's story was going to be and how these characters were going to help shape her experience.
Do you have a favorite uh, emotion character in either one, or one that you? I mean, obviously they're all important in their own way, and how they interact with each other. But is there anyone that stands out to you as one that I guess maybe had the biggest impact on you,
Mm.
even just as a viewer?
Yeah, I mean, I think Envy was really interesting to me because we had a hard time for a while finding a way that she could like what's the good of envy, and like I think it's really important to us in this world that Pete created that every emotion has a benefit. Like joy is obvious, but like learning that sadness is also healthy, anxiety is healthy, it helps us like protect ourselves and is like a warning system. And envy, it was actually like Dr. Lisa Damore came to visit the campus and she had been working with us for a while. And she was like, oh no, envy can be, it helps you set goals. Like if it's healthy, you can look at other people and be like, oh, they're an amazing athlete. What are they doing? Like, what's their practice schedule? What's their routine? And so for me, it just kind of helped me look at envy or jealousy in a new way. And anxiety too, honestly. I was very anxious for a good part of the last year making this movie. And I think even just like how, I learned about grounding techniques that you see Riley do in the
Mhm.
movie. And even just being able to talk to my own anxiety and be like, I would like you to leave the console right now. Like, I think it just it felt very timely and very real to all of us adults.
Yeah, I was talking with my wife about it because I wish I'd had that movie when I was growing up,
Yeah.
so that was, I think it's a very important and very impactful thing to have in a kid's movie, or at least, something that kids can watch.
Thanks. Yeah, I wish I'd had it too. I think I mostly just thought, oh, I just have tummy aches a lot.
Mm, exactly. In terms of, and it could be either animated movies or live action films, when you go to the theater or when you're watching things at home, are you being an editor, are you paying attention to the editing of other people's projects? Like, is there any movies that stand out to you in either form that maybe wowed you over the last couple of years?
It's a great question, and it's a really hard one for me to answer because I do believe, editing is often called the invisible art, and
Mm,
so often if it's being done well, you don't notice it at all.
mm, mhm.
And the other hard part is probably movies that you just say, well, that was okay, may have been saved by the editing, but we'll never know because you don't get to see the dailies that they were dealing with, or any hiccups along the way or coverage they didn't have. And so it's a really hard thing to evaluate. But I think what I love is that across both movies and TV, there's like so much exploration being done with, like whether it's timelines or, visual metaphor or anything that editorial can really help shape. So I'm inspired a lot, but I can't like pick out just a few
Mm,
to highlight. Across genres, I just think there's like wonderful work being done and it's fun to watch and learn
yeah.
from.
Have there been any learning lessons? I mean, I know you're talking about how things were changing, but have there been any learning lessons either over the course of Inside Out 2 or just of other projects you've been a part of where just things like, wow, I'm going to make sure to be aware of this for next time, or man, that was a really big learning lesson. Anything stand out to you in that way?
I mean, I definitely think I learned something on every project I work on, and whether it's, what the director's bringing to the table or just, yeah, challenges of finding the story and recrafting it along the way. I think I was really lucky on Inside Out too to just work with really talented heads of departments, like that just were constantly wanting it to be the best it could possibly be every single day. So when we finally found this ending very close to a lot of deadlines, everybody believed in it so much that I would be in meetings and people would be like, well, it'll be some extra work for us, but we'd really like to add like, more tears or more wind or what, whatever it is, because we think it'll enhance, the feeling. And that's just really inspiring when everyone around you is striving to make it the best it can be. I think on the flip side, I've worked on one of the highest grossing movies. I've also, unfortunately, Playmobil the movie, which was one of the other movies I was lead editor on, was not the highest grossing by any means. But I learned a lot because it had live action bookends. So I got to cut live action with VFX and animation and like figure out how to, try to make that story work to the best it could be. And so, yeah, I love taking on projects that have new challenges, whether it's stories like in the Inside Out world, interweaving these three, finding the best way to interweave these three storylines is a totally different challenge than you're with your main character the whole way and want to like stay with them and commit to their journey. So it's yeah, that's the great thing about telling different kinds of stories every time.
Yeah. Well, just the last thing I have for you is there, because I know you're talking about being on the project for so long, do you know what you're going to be doing next typically? Or is there like a waiting period?
Yeah, well, right now I'm just helping out on an upcoming Pixar feature, which is really fun for me. It's kind of nice to like be a lead and kind of be the captain of the editorial ship for a few years, but then get to take a step back and help out where I'm needed. And that's a luxury I haven't always had. Not every studio operates that way. Oftentimes I'm just freelance, and as soon as the project's over, I need to start looking for the next gig long term. So I am enjoying this new phase where I get to like learn how other editors are working here, how other directors are working, and explore different, different genres or maybe like famous Pixar legacy projects that are going on that I've never gotten to play in that world. So yeah, I'm enjoying just getting to help out where I'm needed right now.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Thanks.
Well, Marissa, I really do appreciate again that taking the time. I really loved Inside Out too, as well as my wife, and
Oh,
everyone I know really loves it. And so it's a very important film, and you did such a great. I mean, as an editor, I think you did such a great job on it, and it's one that I see myself going back to very, very frequently, and I just really appreciate you taking the time.
oh, thank you so much. It really it does mean a lot to all of us to hear that people enjoyed the movie, and it was a really special one to be a part of. I was lucky to have such an amazing team. So thank you, and yeah, thank you for reaching out, Henry. I
Yeah.
hope that I made animation editing a little bit interesting
No,
for
no, no,
people.
no, absolutely. I feel like I kind of got like a 30-minute crash course. So,
All right. Well,
but
thank you so much.
yeah, well, take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay,
Okay, great. Thanks. And yeah,
bye.
let me know if there's anything you need again, or yeah, if something's messed up, I can regroup. So thank you.
I will. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
Bye.